On a dull Thursday afternoon in the small town of Ashford, a text message arrived that would shatter the calm of Alex's life. He was in his woodworking studio, surrounded by the scent of freshly sanded oak and the rhythmic hum of his belt sander. His hands were covered in sawdust as he carefully smoothed the surface of a plank. Then his phone buzzed on the workbench. The message was from his girlfriend, Amelia. "Going on a last-minute trip with my ex, don't be jealous." Alex stared at the screen, not with rage or shock, but with a surprising sense of stillness. It was like someone had tossed a grenade wrapped in silk right into the middle of his life. Amelia's ex was Julian, a wealthy heir who had been a passing chapter in her past, their college days filled with reckless parties and faded promises. Julian was the kind of man who wore expensive cologne and a permanent smirk like he owned the world, even if he mostly owned his father's yacht. Amelia kept Julian as her what-if, texting him when bored or needing a boost. But this message was different. Bold, unapologetic, and dripping with condescension. The "don't be jealous" wasn't a plea. It was a command, a trap. If Alex got angry, he'd be the jealous boyfriend. If he said nothing, he'd be the doormat. It was a chess move, and Amelia thought she'd checkmated him. Alex wiped the sawdust from his hands, typed a reply, "Not at all." Then he added, "Have a great time." He put the phone down, turned on the sander, and went back to work. The workshop filled with the quiet buzz of the tool, but in his mind, the gears clicked into place. This wasn't a test. It was the end of the line. If Amelia wanted to play with fire, Alex was ready to burn the house down. By Friday morning. After she'd left, Alex stood in their bedroom, staring at Amelia's wardrobe. It was like stepping into a high-end boutique after a fireworks display. Dresses shimmering with sequins, shoes that could have starred in a fashion magazine, and handbags so expensive they might as well have been made of gold. For 3 years, he'd worked his hands to the bone to keep that lifestyle afloat, thinking he was building a life together. But now it was clear, he'd been funding a contestant on a game show he didn't even know he was on. Alex didn't act out of anger. No, that would be too easy. Instead, he bought 24 high-quality wardrobe boxes and packing supplies. He spent the entire night meticulously packing every dress, every shoe, every purse. Each item was carefully folded or wrapped, every shoe placed back in its original box if possible. It was a strange ritual, like archiving a part of his life that was now a mistake. By dawn, 28 neatly labeled boxes sat stacked in his living room. Amelia's half of the closet was empty. Her toiletries were gone. Photos of the two of them, once scattered everywhere, were carefully packed away, labeled miscellaneous. Next came the logistics. Julian's address wasn't a mystery. A few weeks earlier, Amelia had accidentally left a birthday card for him on the kitchen counter. A quick search revealed he owned a sleek condo on the 34th floor of a modern high-rise downtown. On Friday afternoon, Alex rented a small moving van, loaded all 28 boxes himself, and drove downtown. At the building, the doorman tried to stop him. "All deliveries must be scheduled," the man said, adjusting his hat. Alex gave him a sincere smile and slipped a crisp 100-pound note across the counter. "My friend Julian's girlfriend wanted to surprise him with a move-in gift. He's out of town, so I'm helping out." The doorman sighed, pocketed the note, and pointed him to the service elevator. 34B. "And try not to make a mess." Alex hauled the boxes to the 34th floor and stacked them neatly in front of Julian's door. A towering wall of cardboard, a monument to poor choices. On the top box, he taped an envelope with a typed note. "Julian, it seems Amelia has made her choice. I believe in not standing in the way of true love. She's all yours now. I've taken the liberty of forwarding her belongings to her new address. All the best. The ex you didn't have to worry about." He snapped a photo of the scene and sent it to Amelia with the caption, "Looks like your delivery arrived." Then he returned home, the house feeling suddenly peaceful, stripped of pretense. By Saturday, he changed the locks and installed a new security system with a video doorbell. He called his sister Claire, a young nurse starting a new job nearby, and offered her the spare room rent-free for a year. When she arrived with her bags, her relief was palpable. A fresh start in a home that was finally his own. Meanwhile, Amelia was miles away, none the wiser that her life was being boxed up and relocated without her knowledge. She thought she held all the cards. But Alex had quietly dealt a hand she never saw coming. Saturday evening in Ashford had settled into a quiet hum, the kind of calm that blankets a town after the weekend rush. Inside the modest two-story house, Alex was finishing setting up Claire's little sanctuary. A cozy room with pale blue walls, soft linens, and a stack of medical textbooks on the bedside table. Claire, fresh from her shift at the hospital, was curled up on the couch in a snug sweater and leggings, her auburn hair loosely tied back, sipping herbal tea. She looked peaceful, a stark contrast to the storm that had just passed through Alex's life. Meanwhile, Amelia was somewhere far away, probably swirling a cocktail in a chic London bar, oblivious to the quiet upheaval back home. She had no idea that her entire wardrobe, her carefully curated collection of heels and handbags, was now sitting in a sleek pile outside Julian's ultramodern condo. Alex sat alone at the kitchen table, nursing a cup of strong black coffee, scrolling through his phone. Not a single message from Amelia. Just silence. He thought about the text again, the casual, almost taunting tone. Don't be jealous. How naive she was. If only she knew that jealousy wasn't what he felt. It was something colder, sharper. It was final. He glanced down at his hands, calloused from years of woodworking, fingers stained with varnish. In those hands, he held the power to build or to dismantle. Tonight, he felt like a demolition expert. And then his phone buzzed. An unknown number. It was a voicemail. He pressed play. The voice was frantic, breathless, barely above a whisper. What did you do? Call me back. This isn't funny. Alex smirked but didn't reply. An hour later, another voicemail. This time, Julian's voice, icy and clipped. Look, mate, I don't know what game you're playing, but you need to come get this stuff. Amelia's a mess, and this isn't my problem. Alex leaned back, eyes narrowing. Julian was used to getting his own way, but this was a new level of inconvenience. He didn't call back. Let Julian stew in it. Later that night, Alex's video doorbell pinged. He glanced at his phone screen. There she was, Amelia, standing on the porch, her blonde hair tousled from the rain, wearing a silk nightgown that clung delicately to her figure and a long trench coat thrown over it. Her high-heeled boots clicked nervously against the stone steps as she fumbled with a key that no longer fit. Alex tapped the intercom button, his voice calm but firm. Can I help you? Amelia's face lit up with hope, then vanished into confusion. Alex, please, let me in. What's going on? My key doesn't work. He sighed, feeling the weight of years of betrayal and heartbreak in his chest. It's not your house anymore, Amelia. You don't live here. She laughed nervously, a sound that quickly broke into a sob. You can't do this. My things. You can't just... I didn't kick you out, Alex said, voice steady. I just helped you move. You made your choice. I just made sure you had everything you needed. Amelia's shoulders slumped. The fight drained out of her like water from a cracked vase. Just then, the porch light flickered on behind her. Claire appeared in the doorway, wearing soft pajamas and a concerned expression. Is everything okay? She asked gently. Amelia looked up, eyes wide, confronted not with a rival or enemy, but with family. Someone who belonged here. Claire smiled faintly, unaware of the history, and closed the door softly. Amelia sank down onto the steps, silent tears tracing paths down her cheeks. The broken sobs of someone who'd lost more than just a home. Alex watched, feeling neither triumph nor pity, just a quiet sense of closure. But as Amelia wiped her face and slowly rose, a shadow crossed her expression. A flicker of something unresolved, a secret tucked deep beneath the ruins of their past. Because in the bottom of one of those boxes, hidden beneath layers of tissue paper, was something Alex hadn't noticed. A small, unassuming envelope addressed simply to him. And as the night deepened, the question lingered in the air. What had Amelia truly left behind? The next morning, sunlight spilled through the curtains of Alex's kitchen, casting long, lazy shadows across the table where his phone lay silent, but for the blinking notification light. Claire was already up, humming softly as she brewed coffee. the aroma filling the room with a comforting warmth that seemed miles away from the tension of the previous night. Alex sat down, still feeling the weight of Amelia's despair on the porch steps. His fingers hovered over the phone as a new email alert popped up. He opened it cautiously. The message was long, rambling. An apology laced with desperation, accusations tangled with pleas. Amelia claimed she had nowhere else to turn, that her friends had shut their doors, and that she was now holed up in some cheap motel on the outskirts of town. She begged for just a little time, a chance to come back, promising she would change. Alex scrolled to the end and typed a single sentence in reply, "Your choices are not my responsibility anymore." Then he set the phone down, created an email filter to send any future messages from her straight to the trash, and blocked her number. Claire glanced over, her green eyes soft with concern. "Are you sure about that?" He nodded, the resolve in his voice surprising even himself. "It's over. I'm done cleaning up after someone else's mess." The day passed with an almost sacred quiet. Alex returned to his workshop, the scent of fresh wood and varnish grounding him. He ran his hands over a nearly finished oak dining table, the smooth curves and sturdy legs a testament to something real and lasting. Unlike the fragile illusions Amelia had clung to later, as twilight painted the sky in deep purples and oranges, Alex's phone buzzed again. This time, a mystery message appeared on his screen. No sender, just a photo. It was a close-up of that very envelope he'd found hidden in the bottom of one of the packed boxes. The handwriting was unfamiliar. The ink smudged as if it had been handled in a hurry. The note inside read simply, "Meet me where it all began. Midnight, Ashford Park." Alone. Alex's heart skipped a beat. The place where it all began was their first date. The small, charming park on the edge of town, where the cherry blossoms bloomed every spring and the world had seemed full of promise. Who had sent the message? And what secret had Amelia left behind in that envelope? He glanced toward the window, the night creeping in like a velvet cloak, full of shadows and unanswered questions. The quiet calm of his reclaimed home was already starting to feel like the calm before a storm. As midnight crept quietly over Ashford, the streets lay deserted under a thick blanket of fog that curled like smoke between the dim street lamps. Alex stood at the edge of Ashford Park, hands shoved deep into the pockets of his worn leather jacket, eyes scanning the shadows beneath the blossoming cherry trees. The night air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of rain mixed with the sweet perfume of spring petals. He wore dark jeans and sturdy boots, practical attire for a man used to building things with his hands, not chasing ghosts from the past. His shirt, slightly untucked, hinted at a casual disinterest, but there was a tension in his jaw that betrayed the storm inside him. The quiet park bench where he and Amelia had once shared their first hesitant smiles now felt like hallowed ground, thick with memories he wasn't sure he wanted to face. Minutes ticked by, and just as Alex debated whether to chalk this up to some cruel prank, a figure appeared through the mist. It was Amelia. She moved with an uncertain grace, wrapped in a trench coat that fluttered slightly in the breeze, revealing just a glimpse of a delicate lace camisole beneath. Her old style of mixing vulnerability with quiet seduction. Her blonde hair was damp, strands clinging to her face like a careless lover. "Alex," she whispered, voice trembling but resolute. He took a step back, the familiar ache twisting inside him. "Why am I here? Amelia? What game is this?" She hesitated, biting her lip, then pulled something from her coat pocket. A small, weathered key attached to a faded leather fob. "This is for the old workshop on Mill Lane. You remember, the one we talked about turning into your studio? It's been sitting empty since you left the city." Alex's brows knit together. "I sold that place months ago." "Not everything," she said softly. "There's something there you need to see." He glanced at her, searching for the joke, the trap, the punchline. But Amelia's eyes were unguarded, desperate even. For the first time, she wasn't playing. "All right," he said, voice low. "Show me." The walk to Mill Lane was short but heavy with silence, the fog swallowing their footsteps. The old workshop loomed ahead, a squat brick building with cracked windows and peeling paint, a ghost of their shared dreams. Alex fished the key from her hand and unlocked the door. The hinges groaned like a weary sigh as the door creaked open, Inside, the air smelled of dust and forgotten hopes. But in the center of the room was something new. A large canvas, covered with a sheet. Amelia pulled it away with a trembling hand. Underneath was a painting. A vivid, raw portrait of Alex, carved in brushstrokes that captured every line and scar on his weathered face. But in the background, faint and shadowy, was a figure, Julian, smiling with that same arrogant smirk that Amelia's voice broke the silence. I made this when I realized what I'd done. You weren't just the carpenter building furniture. You were building me up and I tore it down. I thought I wanted him, but all I ever wanted was the life you tried to build with me. Alex's heart pounded. Why show me this now? Because there's more, she whispered, reaching under the canvas to pull out a folded envelope. I found this in your old toolbox. It's from someone who knows what really happened between us. Alex unfolded the letter, his eyes scanning the neat handwriting. It was unsigned, but the message was clear. Not everything is as it seems. Trust no one. The truth is waiting where the past and present collide. He looked up at Amelia, the weight of the mystery settling over them like fog. What past? What truth? Before she could answer, a sudden noise echoed from the back of the workshop. A door slamming shut somewhere in the darkness. Alex flicked on his phone's flashlight, the beam cutting through the gloom, but nothing moved. Amelia shivered. I think we're not alone. The air thickened with tension, and in the silence, a single thought echoed in Alex's mind. Some secrets don't want to stay buried. The beam of Alex's flashlight danced across the dusty floorboards, catching motes of dust like tiny floating stars. The workshop, once a sanctuary of sawdust and wood shavings, now felt claustrophobic, as if the shadows themselves were closing in. The distant hum of the city faded behind them, swallowed by the thick walls of the old building. Who's there? Alex's voice was steady but low, carrying the authority of a man used to facing down problems head-on. His eyes scanned the room, lingering on the stacks of crates and rusted tools hanging from the walls. Amelia clutched her coat tighter around her slender frame, the lace camisole beneath barely shielding the shiver that ran through her. I don't know, she whispered, biting her lip, but we're not alone. They moved cautiously toward the back door, the floor creaking under their boots. Alex's heart thudded, not from fear, but from the sudden rush of adrenaline. This wasn't just about broken hearts and lost love anymore. It was something darker. Suddenly, a figure stepped out from the shadows. A tall man in a dark coat, his face obscured by the dim light. He held a small envelope in his hand, identical to the one Amelia had just shown Alex. Looking for this? The stranger said, voice low and gravelly. Alex stepped forward, fists clenched. Who are you? The man smiled, a cold, humorless curve of his lips. Let's just say I'm someone who knows the truth about your little triangle. About who really pulled the strings. He tossed the envelope onto a nearby workbench. Open it when you're ready. Before either of them could react, the man slipped into a narrow side exit and disappeared into the night, leaving behind a thick silence and a faint scent of rain. Alex picked up the envelope, feeling its weight like a challenge. Amelia looked at him, eyes wide and searching. Are you going to open it? He hesitated, then nodded. We need to know. Inside was a letter, typed but unsigned, revealing a tangled web. Secret meetings, whispered deals, and a betrayal far beyond what either of them had imagined. Julian wasn't just a careless playboy. He was a pawn in something much bigger. And Amelia's last-minute trip was only the surface of a deeper deception, as Alex read. The workshop seemed to close in even tighter, the walls echoing with the unspoken truth. Their lives had been manipulated, their trust weaponized. Amelia's voice trembled. What do we do now? Alex folded the letter carefully, eyes dark with resolve. We find out who's behind this, and we make sure it ends. Outside, the fog thickened, swallowing the world whole. Inside, two fractured souls stood united against the unknown. But in the shadows beyond the workshop, unseen eyes watched, waiting for the next move. Because some games are far from over.